Hey guys, and welcome back to the final build episode of the Arsène cosplay series. In this final episode we will show you how we finished the cosplay, and in the next and final episode we will do a special showcase of the complete cosplay. But we have a lot to go over, so let's get started. First I started off with the shoes of Arsène because, wow, these things were way too high. I made them something like 70 centimeters, and when I tried them on and tried to walk, even with the plateaus they were still very unstable and were quite squeaky at the joints, so this needed an upgrade. So first I had to take off the harness for my feet so I can reuse these. After that I glued them onto the cut frame, but only to hold them in place while I drilled the holes, because the screws would give all the support. After that was all solid again, I had to reattach the skin to the shoes. For this reattachment I used a rim of 10mm EVA foam as a place to glue the skin to. I worked from the nose of the shoes to the higher parts, but because the harness was now a lot lower, I had to add some extra 1mm EVA foam to close off the shoes again, because the harness pushed the skin out of its way. Although this was not necessary for a large portion of the shoe, because the legs were covering this part of the shoe. So with some glue and a heat gun to loosen up the skin, to get it better over everything, I can close up the shoes. Then it was the turn for Arsène's amazing wings. In a previous episode I had already shown how I made this base plate and attached the wings. But to make it a bit more comfortable to wear, I added this furniture foam to create a padding for my back. But during a test of the wings I let them fall a bit too fast and the bed connection snapped, so I had to make a new set of bones for this with a better connection. Luckily this was a quick fix, so I was able to continue with the next checkmark on the list, making a mask to wear underneath Arsène's mask. I noticed that when I wore the mask and jacket, even with this very high color, my hair and skin were still visible. So I made this face mask from some black stretchy fabric to cover these up. And I used the same technique of aluminum foil and tape to get a trace of my head and neck for a pattern, and I traced this onto the fabric and sewn this all together. During some off time, I noticed that Arsène had these stitches on the back of his top hat. So I wanted to add these with some red yarn. With this X pattern, sorry, I'm no dressmaker, so I don't know the official name for this type of stitch. But I added the same stitch to the back of the mask to keep this theme going. And speaking of masks, I also wanted to add a strip of elastic to the underside of the mask so it sits a bit better against my face. Later I also did the same thing to the top headband and replaced that with a strip of elastic because that would make it a bit easier to wear and to put on and off. Next it was time to go back to the wings with the making of a harness for the backpack. Because I can't hold the wings in my bag with my hands during the entire convention. So first I made these leg straps that would hold the backpack down when I pulled on a wire that would pull the wings together. Next I flamed the edges to prevent them from fraying. Then I started with the straps that go around the body of the backpack. This was quite a chore with the wings still attached. Then it was just a matter of putting on the harness and seeing where the shoulder straps would attach to the belt straps. And to sew this, test it again, sew it, test, sew, test, and so on. I was able to build the harness for the wings of Arsène. So, here we have the end result. Well, this would be nice for a bone wing cosplay, but Arsène has a whole lot of feathers, so let's go and attach those next. But first I had to start tracing, measuring and cutting out the skin for the rings of rebellion. But this had the catch that it had to be able to come on and off the wings. So I was able to attach the feathers when I got these in the mail. So half of the skin had to have a bigger channel than the remainder of the wings. This was something I was fine with because I thought, hey, if the wings were ever to get dirty, I could just take them off the bones and wash them. This is why I went for this approach. And so I pinned the channel of the wings, I checked to see if these are able to be taken off the bones, and then I sewn the skin. I had also gone and sewn this edge because I didn't want it to fray while I was wearing the wings. And after doing all of this sewing again, we get 2 wings. Oh boy, after this I will be happy to go back to Splatoon projects. I'm not going to want to see a sewing machine for another month. But after some testing, again with the harness, I noticed that the backpack was a little bit too flimsy, so I had to make a new one. This time I used some thicker wood for the base, and the stoppers of the wings I also beefed up to be able to easily catch the wings when they were lowered. Before all of that, I had to drill some holes. Then I could add the stoppers for the top of the wings and screw these to the back. After that I took a file and made the holes into rectangles to be able to catch the bolts that I used for the pivots of the wings. I hope that this would make screwing on the nuts a bit easier. After I got the holes for the bolts sanded, I added the stoppers for the wings so they wouldn't fall to the ground. But with a new version I also had to rejoin the straps. Fortunately, now without the wings, it was a breeze. And I also had to add some foam again, otherwise that wooden plank would just grind it to my back. Ouch, no thanks. But Arsène isn't only skin and bones, so I need to add some feathers. Luckily I ordered around 20 meters of black feather band, and after 2 wings I only had around 2.5 meters left. So my tip? Better get more than having to order again and wait for another 2 weeks for a shipment. You're welcome. But these feathers aren't going to stick themselves on, so it's time for some sewing. A lot of sewing. And not only because I had 80 meters of feather bands to sew, but I also had the case that the feathers had been glued on the bands with some sort of resin. So when I sew, these bits of resin would stick to the needle and clog it up until the wire snapped. So with every pass I had to clean the needle to prevent clogging. So this added some time. But after 4 hours of sewing feathers to wings, we do get a result for which I almost have no words. And with the camera it even enhances it with a purple shine to the feathers and they look even better. But then again, these have to go on to the wings. So let's add those, shall we? Believe me, it's harder than it looks. So, these are on. Unbelievable. After 4 months of hard work, the Arsène cosplay is finally, at last, finished. For this final episode, we want to say thank you all for watching this series until now. We know this channel is mostly Splatoon related, but we wanted to make this cosplay for over half a year now. And we would like to take you guys along for the ride. So thank you all for the continued support and almost 100 subscribers. Wow. So we hope to see you all in the next and final episode to be able to see the cosplay all together. We hope you enjoy and we see you soon. Keep those creative gears turning. See you in the next episode.